Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Build Better Websites. I just cannot get around this. I really want to say the short form for our title of the podcast, but you know what? Hey, let the listeners
Better
figure it out.
website podcast.
Build Better Websites podcast. That's right. So yeah. So welcome, guys. Welcome to the second podcast for Build Better Websites podcast. Today with me is Fitri Jiroji, the founder and the CEO of Fits Collab Group, Sendirian Berhad. And the one's gonna entertain you today is me, Lirosha. I'm the guy who's managing the business development side of things for Fits Collab. And today we should really talk about this one thing that people, whenever an agency or whenever a lead comes forward to us, reaching out to us, or a lead wants to get a website, I feel like they have this, they don't really know what they want most of the time. Do you agree?
Absolutely, man. A lot of times
Yeah.
people say they want a website, but when we figure out they don't really need a website.
Yeah. So, you know, so today we're gonna talk about what you should know about when it comes to getting a website, and whether or not you really need a website at that given time or at that given moment. So yeah, I think we can start with the first question.
Let's do it.
Since a lot of people are sort of like asking, sometimes leads us easy questions, right? But then to them, there's like, oh my God, I don't know what it is. I think this roots, you know, not roots, the cause of this is that I feel like people out there has misconceptions on website. Do you agree? And yeah, I yep, I think today, Fitri, we should unfold the misconceptions when it comes to getting a website.
Sure, you're right. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. If this is your first time hearing, I'm Fitri, and we are from Fix Collab Groups near Berhad. Basically, what Fix Collab is, we are a software development agency. Our bread and butter has always been building websites, and what we help people with is we help people really make use of their website. We really help them make a good website and build it in such that the business grows at the end of it. So enough about Fixed Collab. You can read it on our website. So like you said, right, what's the biggest misconception is a lot of times you think that the website will solve the problem, but that's not the case. What I mean by this is usually people that come to us, they will say that, hey, because they know us as a website guy, so they will come to us with this intention that, hey, I need a website. And earlier on during our early days, we thought that, hey, yeah, why not, let's hear you out. But a lot of times along the way, we realized that there are clients even after we built the website, and they seem to still struggle with the same thing. And that was when we realized that, hey, website may not be the be all and all answer to whatever problems that you have. It was primarily our fault because we did not really set a session to understand what is the business problems that led you to reach out to us. Now, obviously, that's a process that we do every single time with our potential prospect. And only after we realize that, okay, this is the business problem, then we'll talk about trying to solve the problem with a website. So I would say that's the biggest misconception that most business owners have when it comes to reaching out to a web development agency. They think that a new website will solve the problem, but it's much deeper than that.
Okay. So from your past, you know, experience, all of the prospects you went through back then, what's one of the most, what's the most obvious I wouldn't say obvious, one example of this misconception, you know,
Right.
from past leads, past experience.
So a lot of times people reach out to us because they have a conversion problem. You see, for in my previous podcast, we talked about how the roles of website has changed. Back then, it was just a place for you to find information, but now it's a place for you to understand how the business works and understand whether what the business offer is something that you have, right? So the role has changed from just presenting information to persuading people to do business for you. And a lot of times people think that, yeah, I need a new website because this current one that I have is not generating any sort of prospect or leads, right? Typically, all B2B businesses, they have this contact form or an inquiry button that visitors click when they want to inquire the rates
Yeah,
or they want to, you know, figure out how we can work with each other. But
that's right.
that's not always the case. A lot of times when we take one step back, we realize that, hey, your website is not getting the visibility that it needs. No one is actually landing on your website. It's like you are trying to renovate a kitchen or a restaurant, but when in actual fact, nobody walks in the restaurant.
Mhm. True.
So they think that they have a conversion problem, but in actual fact, they have a traffic problem, which is something that usually a web design agency can't solve because, say, I'm just renovating the space. I'm not attracting people to you. So that is
That's right.
by far, I would say the majority, you know it well, majority of our leads, clients struggle with. They think they have a conversion problem when in actual fact they have a traffic problem.
And yeah, that's true. We do face a lot of people reaching out to us, and like you mentioned, when we really did sit down and think what's the issue here, what's the main cause here, it's always that people. So like that traffic problem, why is it not part of the website design agency's job?
Right. Again, you don't ask the, I mean, let's use that analogy. If you open a restaurant, you don't ask the interior designer to, I mean, naturally, you don't expect them to bring customers to you.
Hmm.
Like the architect, the people who design the space, you don't expect them to, hey, you should bring the customers to me. You would hire
That's right.
a marketing agency, you would hire a marketing guy to go out there and start making this hoo-ha about your place with the hope that they will bring traffic to your shop. So that's like usually website development company like we do. What we do is obviously we can advise. That's why we do all these kind of things. The goal is to educate you guys to make sure that, you know, when you put your money into us, you know what you're doing, because we don't want to have people who have this I mean, they have different expectations, and a lot of times, development agencies out there sort of promise this because they think that, oh, this is what it takes to close the deal. But what they don't
Yeah.
understand is that creates a false perception about, hey, the outcome of a brand new website is your business gonna explode. It won't.
Mhm.
It will
That's
only
true.
explode if you know how to now direct or pull traffic into this newly designed space, and that is when it actually will start showing you the conversion that you need.
True. That's true. I mean, you don't ask the architect to, hey, can you run my marketing campaign?
Sure.
Betul, true. So yeah, so essentially it's this marketing effort, right? And like, yeah, that's the biggest misconception. And most of the time, it boils down to whether they do their marketing or not, getting all the traffics to come in. Why, like, what is the reason, like people out there sort of like they can't see the connection between these two: traffic, in other words, marketing, and website.
Right. To me, it boils down to one simple thing. We need more people like the development agency, the design agency have to step up and educate the masses about, hey, this is not what we can deliver.
This is just
Obviously,
parts.
correct. If you go to a digital marketing agency who have development or design and development service as part of their service, they will probably help you out with that. Meaning that, hey,
Hmm.
once you have this done, we'll start running traffic to it via paid or whatever initiative that we do. Then you'll be able to start seeing some sort of conversion, some sort of leads from there, and then you can do what you need to do to convert them into customers. But a lot of times that education process is not being done by the service provider. I would say it's part of our fault as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. That's why we're coming up with this content for you guys. to to what? To get redemption lah, you know.
No lah.
So
I, 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 I mean, if you watch the previous podcast, you understand that the only way for B2B business, we are B2B business, to thrive is to be the guy who constantly educates, to be the guy who constantly publish, to be the guy who constantly raise awareness about their business online. And it's part of what we do. We feel that, hey, if you want to tell people, because to be honest with you guys, we want to help our client. We want to be able to tell our clients that, hey, you get your website and you start doing these things that we do, you'll start seeing results. In fact, Fix Collab by history is a company that was run by a bunch of freelancer who somehow managed to turn that freelance gig into a full-time thing, managed to grow, and then to what it is today, simply because we are constantly educating people out there. So if you are listening, if you're watching this, that's probably the single most ROI thing that you could do to get more visibility, to get more awareness on your brand, and eventually drive people to do business with you.
yeah, and then so that's we've unfolded the biggest misconception, and I think the second one would be the most famous question: can we get it done in 1 month, or can we get it done in a week? You know,
Right.
so yeah, timeline. It's hard because the things that we build is not just for the sake of just building, right? The thing that we build involve research. We have reasons why we build it like this, why we design it like this, and yeah, whenever a lead comes, they're expecting things to be done. For example, a lead called me today, and then if by end of March can launch. Wow, hey. So what what's the reason do you think that these guys think things can be done pretty very fast?
Again, when it comes to building a new website, guys, a lot of times you have to distinguish between a,
Mhm.
I would say, off the shelf approach than a bespoke approach.
Off the shelf and
There's no
bespoke.
right or wrong as to which approach you should use. But again, if you
Mhm.
go to an agency, 9 times out of 10, majority of the agency is built to deliver bespoke services. Otherwise,
Mhm.
they would have. I mean, we would highly recommend you to use off-the-shelf tool out there that could just get you a brand new website as fast as an hour or even in few minutes. There are services out there, but if you understand that, look, I want this bespoke look, I want this brand exercise, I want this certain feel that my audience should feel when they land on my website, that is where you go to an agency. And when you want to achieve that, it's not something that is achievable within a short span of time. So it's possible to deliver a website within, let's say, if you have 10 days. We've worked with clients who wanted to put together a bespoke website and they only have only a few weeks, 2 weeks if I'm not mistaken, and we worked hand in hand with them every single day. We were just, we were working side by side very closely to push for the deadline and manage to push it. But obviously that comes with additional fee, that comes with more cooperation on your side, and we can go deeper in this. How do you, so obviously if you want to get bespoke stuff done, if you know what it takes to push the timeline, make it shrink the timeline, it's doable. But a lot of times people have this misconception that, hey, when I go to an agency, they should be able to do it within 1 or 2, 3 days.
Yeah.
That's wrong. You can get those speed if you go with off the shelf solutions. But going off the shelf means that you will forego the added options, the added customizability, the integration of things that is needed to provide a bespoke experience to your visitors.
Mhm.
So that would be my take on timeline. If you know, if you have short timeline, you have to understand that, okay, it's either I work hand in hand, obviously I have to put more money because most agency would charge you a rush fee, or I go to the off the shelf route, meaning that
Yeah.
I'll probably do it myself and I'll be able to put together a website in such a short amount of time. There are solutions out there that can do that, but not with us.
So it's pretty much depends on whether you want it bespoke or you want it off the shelf. And
Yep.
I think, um, you know, like most of the time when we encounter, sometimes lead, they ask for a timeline because that's the most, pressing factor for them. So like, how do we go about that? At the same time, they want to go have a bespoke website, for example, but let's say they have like 3 weeks probably, or probably 2 weeks. So yeah, what,
Again,
what would you do? What would you do to shrink? What process do you think you can shrink?
well, let me give an analogy. Now,
Mhm.
me and you're the client and I am the service provider, right? We want to
Yeah.
run this lab in a stadium, the
Hmm.
400-meter lab, right? And we want to get to on full round. But
Hmm.
you want it to be a sprint, okay? And I'm
Yeah.
sprinting, so boom, the gun goes off, and then I started sprinting.
Yeah.
But you're just pacing, you're just walking.
Hmm.
Do you think both of us will be able to reach the endpoint together?
Nope.
We won't, unless you sprint as well with us.
That's right.
So a lot of times the agency can sprint. The incentive obviously is money, guys. You have tight deadline. If you find an agency, tell them, hey, if I want to rush this, what would be the extra fee? What are the quantum of the fees that we're looking at?
Yeah.
And if you're agreeable with that fee and the motivation is big enough for you to rush this, then you will need to sprint alongside the agency. A
Yes.
lot of business owners, they think that once I hire an agency, hands off.
Mm.
If you want to sprint, you got to sprint together. And that is where most business owners get it wrong when it comes to rushing for a website. They want to rush it, but they don't want to take part in it. It won't work
Yeah.
because process would require you to review the designs, if not on a
Be
daily
there.
basis, on an hourly basis, providing feedback, giving approval, making the payment on time so that everything goes on track and allow us to meet the timeline. So I would usually tell my client that, hey, you want to rush it, it takes two to tango. Like, you play your part, I play my
Hmm.
part, we agree on a fee, we can deliver. And we have delivered before.
Yeah. That's true. Yep, the ones that we delivered was with the clients that, you know, I, I would say we took quite of their time, you know.
True.
Yep.
They were there literally with us the
Yeah,
whole time, the whole every single day from ideation to the final thing.
yeah. And yeah, I mean, there was this one point where we were at client's office for weeks to get things done quick. And yeah, for that client, of course, they have to entertain us first. Then they have their own things to do as well. But then, sort of like, because we want to get it done quick, so there's a lot of communication between us and the client. Like, talk to the PIC, go to her table, and then ask for this information, stuff. Yeah. So that sort of commitment, that sort of commitment can really help to get you a website in one day. For example, like, I don't know if you can get a website in one day or not for a bespoke website in this context, but yeah. So that's one on the timeline, and then the most infamous question lah. Why is it so expensive?
Why is it so expensive? It's very
Why
simple.
why you build website so expensive? Simple lah.
Well, first,
Yo, not simple lah. I have to talk to my accountant.
my answer to that is very simple. When you approach an agency, 9 times out of 10, you have the thought of, hey, I want to build a BMW at least, right?
Hmm.
Or
Mhm.
a lot of higher end clients would want a Maserati or a Ferrari or McLaren, right?
Yeah,
That's your expectation.
that's
But
right.
you're not willing to write the check for a Maserati or a McLaren.
You won't get that.
Exactly. It just won't work. So if you expect bespoke kind of work, you expect a certain level of service, it comes with a price tag.
Yeah,
And that price tag is the incentive for every agency to provide you that work, provide you that service. That's the philosophical answer, so to speak. But the logical answer of it is typically if the agency, like us, we have a lot of in-house team. So naturally our fee will be higher than people who are outsourcing to freelancer, right? And the reason
yeah,
why we have in-house team is for the sake of quality, for the sake of ensuring that we'll be able to deliver. We've been that route before. Before I established Fixco Lab when I was 5 years ago, I worked with a lot of contractors, right? And the thing about contractors is you can't guarantee the fact that they will stay there until the end, the fact that they will deliver to you according to your expectations, and that is the risk that you have to take. Yes, you make more profit, but then that is the reason why a lot of projects fail because of that approach. Now, on the other hand, we do it in-house so that we can ensure the deliverability of the project. We can ensure that hey, this is what we designed, this is how it would turn out. So these are the small things that are not marketed or advertised, are not told out there. You can design a certain page to look like this, right? The designer will come up with a design. When it comes to the
yeah,
developer, they now have to execute according to the plan. How many times you go to a, let's say, a car show, right? You see all these concept cars, these futuristic, alien-looking cars that just blows you away when you look at it. But it never
yeah.
came to production. Why? Because then it's too expensive for people to even build it. It's almost impossible for people to build it.
Yet.
Correct. So a good agency is an agency that understands that hey, whatever we design, the concept that we build is something that will be doable, that our developers can build to the exact pixel.
Yeah,
And that's the approach that we take at Fixed Collab. For us, when we put together a design, it has to be a design that our developers can develop to a pixel perfect match. And a lot of times people don't appreciate this. Yes, it's nothing to me. If you're not in design, if you're not in development, there's no reason for you to appreciate that. But a lot of times, agency would promise you a design that they can't develop, and then that would lead
Yeah.
to whole project failing. It would create all this not so nice feeling. All stems from that fact that, hey, I want to cut costs so I can outsource to people so it's cheap, but at the same time I risk the deliverability of the project. That is something that if we will talk deeper in a different podcast, how to
Mhm.
ensure deliverability of a website or a software or an app development service project. But that's something that business owners should be aware of when it comes to them wanting to get this end result. Why it's expensive? Because if you want, I mean, you order a Lamborghini, you order a Rolls Royce, you have to wait for years.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
pay a lot of money to wait for years. It doesn't make sense. But you're willing to do
That's
it
right.
because you will get good stuff.
You get a Lambo.
Correct.
You get Bugatti.
So
You get Bugatti and Lambos. You don't need to do marketing anymore.
at the end of the day, it depends on what you want. You want to pay cheap, you would have to expect cheap. That's why I always tell my prospect everything has a price. Although you're paying low price, you're paying a price on something else. It could be the deliverability, the scalability, the long term future of the project, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. And because of this misconception, you mentioned this one word just now, expectation. Expectation. You mentioned that a few times. So because of this misconception, that's where the expectation comes, right?
Yep.
So yeah, if you don't want to hurt yourself, please listen to this podcast because you're gonna hurt yourself if you miss expectation. No, because if you miss expecting, huh, is that the proper word? Miss expecting, yes.
You might
So
go ahead
yeah,
and
but then
we'll know when the grandma Nazi starts hammering us on our English.
yeah. Oh, talking about that, right? Talking about that, I think one thing also we should touch on is perfection.
Hmm.
I feel this is also one of the biggest reasons that drags a lot of, the timeline, the cost. So probably you have something to break that conception of having to be perfect at one go. What would you say on this?
The reason why Rolls Royce takes 12 months to deliver is because they want to make everything perfect. Problem is, you don't have 12 months to wait for a brand new website. So
That's right.
if you want it quick, you have to understand that, hey, we'll just ship something. Obviously, probably 70% perfect. There'll be a lot of holes, there'll be a lot of typos, there'll be a lot of words that you will start rethink about.
Mhm.
But if
Yeah.
you are aware that this is a process, meaning that, okay, the first version is going to be this, but the agency will continuously improve it, I will continuously provide feedback, then you should be on track to build a good website. Understand that a good website is an ongoing process.
Mhm.
The longer you delay from publishing the website, the more money you leave on the table.
That's right. And it could cost you. It could cost you something.
Correct. We have
We
had
had this one. Yeah.
we have had clients who lost $1 million worth of investment simply because they don't have a website. It's not that they don't have a website. Their website was still in under maintenance mode. Had they pushed the website earlier, published the website earlier, despite certain parts are still unusable,
Mhm.
they would have gotten the investment.
Yeah.
So understand that the faster you go to market, the faster you put yourself in the faces of opportunities.
That's right.
Yep. You can probably still go on a website and find things that are not completed yet, because we understand that, hey, what's important here is to market, to educate, and we make these changes as we go.
Yeah. True. Yep. So yeah, that perfection thingy, it comes with time and price.
True.
But you know, at the same time chasing perfection, you have to consider your time as well. You don't want to be like the dude that you know lost millions worth of funding because the website is still under maintenance. That, yeah. So that's one of the problems. And other than that, right? Um, how can we help our listeners? How can we help our viewers to sort of like okay identify okay if maybe we can categorize problems into big groups and see whether these sort of problems will require a website, these sort of problems will require marketing, you know, to give them a guideline.
Right. If you are already pushing content out there, okay, if you're already doing some sort of awareness, if you're constantly pushing content out there and you know that there are people visiting your website, but you're not getting any clicks, any call to action clicks, no one filling up your form, no one transacting with your e-commerce thing, then you have a conversion problem. Provided that you've done your best to direct traffic and you have proof that there's traffic on the website. But if that's not the case, you probably have posted only once since the past 12 months, then it's not a website problem. It's a marketing problem. For that, you have to reach out to a digital agency, a digital marketing agency that can specialize in helping you get all this awareness, all these eyeballs, all these views and traffic to your website. And only then you will know whether the website is converting or not. And by then, your digital marketing guys would have probably be able to point it out already and suggest to
Yeah,
you how to improve that. So those are the
yeah,
only two. If you're left, you're left. If you're right, you're right.
yep. I hope everyone, you know, got golden nuggets from this episode. So we've laid out, you know, if the problem is this, this is what you need to do. If the problem is, you know, something else, probably you got to look into something else.
True.
And yes, and I hope that this episode helps to clear off misconception so that you won't be misexpecting and start hammering, you know, agencies. You know, both side fight, both side pain, ma.
True.
Relationship is not a one-way street. I mean, in some sense, you know, working relationship. And like you said, it takes two to tango. So if another guy don't want to tango with you, your fault. So yeah, I think we're good.
Yep. Let's go tango, brother. Tengo la camisa negra. Gentlemen, bye bye. And don't forget to like or subscribe and share if there's value that you get.